she's recurrent. So she just goes back. Okay. And you'll start noticing that recurrent things just go back. Okay. So median recurrent nerve is going to go into the palm, but she comes off of the median nerve and she just goes back. Okay. Then you have Palmar digital branches of the median nerve and proper Palmar. So all that means is that the median nerve is going to travel down. Okay, travel down. In the palm, we're going to call these common Palmar digital arteries. And in the fingers, we're going to call them proper Palmars. Okay, so if you see a nerve that is tagged in the palm of the hand and it's not the recurrent branch of the median nerve, you're going to call it common Palmar digital arteries. Okay, if it goes into the fingers, okay, it's going to be proper Palmar digital arteries. Then the deep branch of the ulnar nerve is going to be this branch right here, because you have that ulnar nerve on the pinky side. Remember, pinky side, and it's going to be deep, so I have to get rid of a bunch of muscles to be able to see this deep branch. Okay, so deep means deep. So I have to get rid of a bunch of muscles to be able to see this branch. And again, trace it back. If you see a tag and you do not know what it is, try to find it to where it comes off. What artery does it come off? What nerve does it come off? And I guarantee you'll probably figure it out, okay? Arteries. Same thing with the arteries, okay? The radial artery is going to keep coming down, and she's going to give off a deep palmar arch, radialis indexus, and radialis pollicis. Remember that I told you that pollicis means thumb? Well, she's back, okay? Indicis means index finger, so that's going to help you out. If you see an artery that is on the index finger, like in this picture right here, it's radialis indicus. If you see an artery that is going into the thumb, like this artery here, it's princeps pollicis, okay? Other than that, in the palm, you're going to see common digital and proper digital and superficial palmar arch. So I'm going to zoom into this picture here. I have my thumb right here, so this artery has to be radial artery. I have my pinky right here, so then this artery has to be ulnar artery. They're going to travel, and when they travel, they're like, oh, let's have a party. They meet up, and they form this arch. This arch is called superficial palmar arch. This arch then is going to give off arteries. You can see squiggly lines here, you can see one there, squiggly line here, squiggly line there. Okay, this is your common digital palmar arteries, okay, or common palmar digital arteries, okay? In the palm, common palmar digital arteries. But then just like the nerves, once they go into the fingers, okay, proper palmar, okay? And just a little quick memory tool. Proper people eat finger food. I don't know, okay? Just remember, in the finger, proper, okay? And then your extensors is going to be the back side, okay? These are easier to me. I don't know why. They just are, probably because of the pass-fail. Pass-fail doesn't really apply here. You can just kind of tell, okay? We've already talked about this muscle. Remember, straight fibers and coneus, okay? Brachioradialis comes from that brachium towards that radial radius side, brachioradialis. Okay, now you're going to name them for what they do. On the back side, you only have what am I thinking? You only have a digitorum, okay? You don't have profundus, you don't have superficialis, you just have extensor, carpi, digitorum. And she has tendons that go to all the digits, okay? Then you're going to have an extensor, carpi ulnaris. Remember that I told you ulna means pinky, so it goes towards the pinky side. Then you're going to have extensor, carpi radialis, longus, and brevis. So what that means is that this one up here that is on top, writing on top, has a really tiny and skinny tendon that goes like this. That is your longus, okay? The brevis is going to be underneath it right over here, and she has a much shorter and wider tendon. Oh, wrong color. Shorter and wider tendon right here, okay? So one more time. The extensor carpi radialis longus sits on top and has a very skinny and long tendon, the flexor carpi radialis brevis, not flexor, Lima, get it together. Extensor carpi radialis brevis is going to be underneath, and she's going to have a shorter and wider tendon, okay? And then the other thing that you have is going to be your extensor digiti minimi. Basically, your extensor digitorum is going to go towards these fingers here, but not the digiti minimi, not the pinky, okay? She has her own thing. She's special. So the one that's right next to that digitorum is going to be your extensor digiti minimi, okay? And then deeper, you're going to have supinator. Supinator is going to help you supinate. Supinate means you cup your hand, because when you want soup, you're going to cup your hand, so it allows you to bring it up, supinate, okay? So it's going to be on that radial bone, and I would really recommend you to go into Complete Anatomy and look at how this goes over that radial bone, okay, to form that motion, okay? That's your supinator. Deeper, you're also going to have an abductor and extensors. So again, call this by what it is. What did I tell you guys about this finger? This is your index finger, right? So it's going to be called indicus. Well, look at this muscle here. It only goes to that second finger. So it has to be extensor indicus, okay? Has to be, no other option. Then you're going to have your extensor pollicis brevis and longus, okay? So I'm going to zoom in for this. This one right here is going to be your extensor pollicis brevis, okay? And then you're going to have on top this is your extensor pollicis longus, and then right here in the middle, you have extensor pollicis brevis, right here, okay? And then, remember that we saw that abductor pollicis longus, and I told you guys why I didn't know they wanted you to know in forearm. Well, you can see her again right here, and she rides over and then just gives that long tendon. So I'm going to take that picture because you guys really need to see those different muscles. The brevis is smacked between the two longus. This one longus is going to be your extensor carpi, your extensor pollicis longus, sorry. And then the one on top is going to be your abductor pollicis longus, and right smack in the middle, you're going to have your extensor carpi, extensor pollicis brevis, okay? It's a lot of info, guys, and I'm so sorry. I wish I could make this easier. And then just like you have palmar interosseous, you also have dorsal interosseous, but the only one that they want you guys to know is this first dorsal. So you're only going to see this little muscle here that's right stuck between your index and your thumb. That's it. That's all you have to know, okay? And then arteries, the only thing here that I want you to know is that you can continue seeing this radial artery even in the arm, okay? So the radial artery is going to come down all the way down. Remember we talked about her here? She comes down, and then guess what? She pops up in this anatomical snuff box, okay? In the anatomical snuff box, right in here, okay, you have that radial artery. They have been known to tag this artery right here. They don't tag it up here in the arm where you can see it coming off the brachial artery. No, they say, you know what? We want to know if they really know anatomical relationship. This snuff box, and I give you more information there, that's where they like to tag her. So know that, okay? We already saw anterior interosseous a lot. Now we're going to see posterior interosseous. Remember, she comes off of that common interosseous trunk right here, and my circle moved, but this is ulnar artery. This is common interosseous artery. So then back here is your posterior interosseous artery, and she dives back. So now we're looking at the posterior part of the arm, and how do I know that? Well, what muscle is this? This is supinator, okay? Supinator is on the back part of the arm, okay? So you see this artery, this is going to be your posterior interosseous artery, okay? And with her, you're going to see that posterior interosseous nerve, okay? And don't forget, right here in the wrist, you can see that anterior interosseous artery right there, okay? Deep radial branch of the radial nerve. This is important. That's why I want you guys to go to Complete Anatomy and look at that supinator. The radial nerve comes off the brachial plexus. plexus, okay? She comes out of that posterior cord. She drives back in that posterior aspect of the forearm, innervates all those posterior arm muscles, and then she comes into the elbow area. When she comes into the elbow area, she splits, okay? She comes out, and then when she dives in and pierces this muscle, supinator muscle, she becomes the deep branch of the radial nerve, okay? And the part of the radial nerve that continues into the forearm is going to be your superficial branch of the radial nerve. This picture right here, and I chose it, I know it's a cartoon. This is exactly how it would be shown to you if it was tagged. They would show you the supinator. They would show you probably not this top part of the radial nerve. They would show you the supinator, and they would put a little probe underneath this nerve here, and then one under here, and then tag either or. If you see it writing on top, going into that forearm, it's not piercing the supinator, it's superficial branch of the radial nerve. If it's piercing that supinator, it's your deep branch of the radial nerve, okay? And here in this picture, you can kind of see that. But I'm gonna find a body, and I will let someone know which body it is that I found a really good one, because this is how they would tag that, okay? And then that's it. That's all of it. Any questions?
So there have been a question that's bothering me. Can they like tag a structure or like a muscle and be like, what's the nerve that is innervating this, or is this just a lecture?
So those are second order questions, and they can do that. And they can do that on your bones, especially. They can tag one of your bones and a specific part on it and be like, let's say they tagged the supraglenoid tubercle, okay? And they would be like, what muscle attaches here? Well, there's only one muscle that attaches on the supraglenoid tubercle, and that would be your biceps, the long head of your biceps. They can do that. Will there be many of those questions? No. It will probably be one or two questions that are second order, and those are going to be like the very hard A type of questions, okay? So I wouldn't stress out too much about those second order. It's going to be one or two. I'm going to make your mock practical to be almost as identical in type of difficulty level. I'm going to do my best to mimic it, and I will probably put one or two of those second order questions so that you can kind of get used to them. But for the most part, it's going to be identify the nerve, identify the muscle, identify the structure, and pay attention to your structures list. Please, if it says numbers, or if it's minor, major, anterior, posterior, those very specific things, you have to know them and you have to name them like that. They will put identify the muscle, be specific. That's major or minor. Identify the artery. Let's say it's a circumflex artery. You have to put anterior or posterior, okay? And I'll talk more about that with you guys next week as you guys are wrapping and getting closer to your practical. But in the practice questions, I didn't write be specific because I really ran out of time and I'm studying for GI. But I will make a document for next week where it's just practice questions, and I will ask them as they would be asked in the practical. It'll say identify this artery, be specific. Identify this muscle, just as is. Identify the structure, be specific, okay? So that you guys can get some practice. If you're not in lab next week, on Friday, come in and take that mock practical. You will be very upset at yourself if you don't come in and take the mock, okay? All right, any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Will the mock practical be during lab times, or will they be like from 5:10 to 6:10?
No, the mock practical will be set up Thursday night, and it will be ready to go for you guys all of Friday. But the people who have lab Friday will take the mock practical during that time.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right. See you guys next week in lab. There's going to be no Zoom review. It's all going to be lab, okay?
Okay.
Bye.